So welcome back to Entraz. In this video we're going to be doing a look at the Firewalla Purple as a travel router. Depending on how things go, we may be also looking at how to use the travel router as a site-to-site VPN or remote access VPN, but it might be two separate videos. Depending on how this goes, we'll see. For now, I'm doing a reset on my Firewalla Purple, and under Settings, we have the ability to reset to factory defaults, where we can just do a reset, or we can do a reset and shutdown. Reset and shutdown is probably a good idea if you want to sell it. Of course, considering it's all QR code based, I'm not sure who would want a resold Firewalla, but in any case, we're going to hit the reset, and we're going to talk about how to configure the Firewalla as a travel router. So we hit reset. And we'll just wait a little bit and it'll do its thing. Be back with you as soon as it's done, and we'll get into it. So keep in mind, once we reset the Firewalla box, as you saw here, it'll basically be removed from your Firewalla app. And the Firewalla Purple does the restart process. It should come back up. Now, I'm guessing we'll have to do a pairing operation, which means we'll probably need to make sure Bluetooth is configured. So as we see here, my Bluetooth is turned on, so I know that will work. We'll give it a few minutes, and then I will start the pairing process, and we can see how that works. All right, it's been a few minutes. Let's try to pair our new Firewalla Purple. Now keep in mind, one of the things that I'm doing, I have one of the older Firewalla Purples. I have a USB connection. This USB connection does have to be plugged into a power outlet. I believe it requires too many amps to be used, plugged directly into like a laptop or a computer or something. So unlike the TP-Link, you need shore power. I also have a network connection plugged into my WAN port. This WAN is connected to an internal network, so it's not directly on the internet. So we'll configure the LAN and look at some of the other options we have out of the box on a Firewalla Purple compared to the Firewalla Gold. So I'm going to try to pair it to the Firewalla Purple here. As I just showed you, we have USB-C, and it'll take up to 5 minutes to look for the box. Of course, we have to scan the QR code for us to actually connect to the device. In this case, it looks like Bluetooth actually worked, so let me turn this off for 1 second, and then we'll take a picture of the QR code. Alright, we're going to see here on the quick setup we have the ability to do router mode. Apparently we already have previous network settings, which is neat. Let me look. I can't click on it, so you can choose quick setup to use the previous network settings or set the box up as new. So these are the settings that I had before. I had a WAN port, a LAN Wi-Fi, and a LAN for internal. What we're going to do is we're going to set it up as a new box. We can set it up as a router or add to an existing network. Considering we're going to be looking at this as a travel router, we need to have it as router mode. I may end up getting another Firewalla Purple down the road, or maybe a Firewalla Gold Plus, and then we can start looking at what that existing network configuration looks like. For now, we'll set it up as a router. Use an Ethernet cable to connect the WAN port on the Firewalla to a LAN port on the modem, if that's what you have. Now currently, like I said, I have this on my internal network, not a modem, so there's a lot of different ways you can do this. But it looks like by default we have to have a WAN port, and that a wireless connection might not be able to be made during setup. So this shouldn't take very long, but the initial setup of the Firewalla Purple, and once this is up and running, we'll just go through a little quick take on some of the options we have on the Purple as opposed to what we had on the Gold. Once again, if you go to the Firewalla website, you can look at a lot of the differences between the Purple, the Gold, and the Gold Plus to see which one you need or would prefer. Now, honestly, I kind of wish we could get the red or the blue, but last I looked, was a couple months ago, those two were discontinued, and the purple and the yellow, or purple and the gold, were the only two that were purchasable. So yeah, I don't even know if they're still making the red or the blue, but if they had a Firewalla version that only required 0.5 amp and a 5 volt, I think that would be even better as a travel router, but for now we'll just see what the Purple can do for us. So real quick, I just went to the Firewalla.com website, and apparently they've just stopped offering the red because they have the Blue Plus now. They have a Blue Plus that's limited to 500 meg. The Purple is a gig, and then 3 and 5 for the Gold and Gold Plus. If we come back to the products here, we'll see the Blue Plus. Apparently it is available these days, and it's 180. Does a lot of the same stuff the other ones do, it's just a lot smaller package. The Blue includes all the features. The Blue Plus includes all the features of the Blue, but is faster. 10 regions, Smart Queue, Docker container, and WireGuard VPN. Apparently it also supports OpenVPN. But keep in mind, it looks like the WireGuard is just a lot faster. One of the other things you'll also notice is Purple is the only one that supports a Wi-Fi WISP, or WAN connectivity over wireless Wi-Fi. So that's good to know. The Blue probably wouldn't work for what I'd want to use it as a travel router for, because it doesn't have WISP capabilities. The Purple, let's see, gigabit connectivity. It says WireGuard VPN support, but on the Blue Plus it also lists WireGuard as well. So, who knows? Anyway, Blue Plus is still available, but I'd probably recommend going to the Purple if you can afford it. So let's start moving forward on the Firewalla Purple here. By default, when it comes up, we'll see what type of networks we have. LAN 1, 192.168.34.0/24. The WAN port, port 2, is a DHCP connection, and it's active. So good, it looks like that's done by default, and to set up the Purple, I believe you need internet connectivity to this device. But once again, I'm connected to my internal network. I'm not actually plugged into a modem, so you don't necessarily need to worry about that. But let's look at some of the options we have for creating networks. We have a WAN connection, which we kind of already have on port 2. And as we saw a moment ago, the Purple does have WAN connectivity. The Purple allows a WAN connection via Wi-Fi. You can also create a Wi-Fi local network that's created by default on port 1. You can create guest networks and lockdown networks. Pretty interesting. So as a travel router, it's ready to go. If you travel anywhere where you have a wired Ethernet connection, you're pretty much done. Plug it in, turn it on, there you go. The port, the LAN connection by default, I believe is a LAN connection. So you can plug an unmanaged layer 2 switch into port 1 and then it'll expand on your, network access ports. You can turn it into a VLAN style if you have a managed switch that, supports VLANs. Otherwise, we're going to come in here and create a couple of networks. We're going to create a Wi-Fi local network, Firewalla 2, and a predefined password. Now this password is going to be different every time you create the network or if you have your own Firewalla. We can click create here and it'll just go through the process, or we can look at advanced network settings and it'll show us how that Wi-Fi connection is off by itself. We can give it a name. We can give it a template if we had one for guest and lockdown. We can also specify Wi-Fi SSIDs where we have the password. We can hide the SSID if we don't want it broadcast. We can change it to maximum compatibility so we can allow the 2.4 gigahertz only, it looks like here. And then of course the channel selection is something you may want to look into if you have a lot of other Wi-Fi connectivity. With 2.4 gigahertz, you really only have 3 channels that you can choose from. In the 5 gigahertz range, it upped to, I don't know, like 20 something. So if you have 5 gigahertz available, it's really the best way to go and it's a lot faster. Under network settings, you can do the surprise me, so it'll just do some random IP address in the 3rd octet. It looks like you'll always have a /24 by default, but you can come in here and put in a manual IP address. Otherwise, down below, we can specify DHCP server information and if we want to turn on or off IPv6. For now, I'm going to save it at 2.5 gigahertz because I know all my devices support that. And like usual, it can take a while for these settings to propagate. So, okay, reconnect to network. Now you're going to see here that I have LAN 1 internal, LAN 2 Wi-Fi, ISP 1 or port 2, and we're ready to go. If I come over here and check my wireless access, which you currently can't see. Let me see. Show available networks. You're going to see here we have mine showing up, which I really don't want it to. Anyway, here's my Firewalla 2 you see here. This Firewalla 2 is the Wi-Fi connection that I just created, and we can connect directly to the Firewalla on Firewalla 2. So if you're out traveling or whatnot, you can have your Firewalla Purple just create a Wi-Fi connection for all of your wireless devices you may have. Just plug in a WAN connection and you're ready to go. So connecting to this, I could do that. However, one of the other things I wanted us to look at was creating a wireless WAN connection. So currently I am connected to NTR and I want to create a WAN connection via Wi-Fi. Because sometimes if you're out like at a hotel, I don't know, in the middle of nowhere, whatever, you might not have the ability to plug an Ethernet adapter into, your Firewalla. I mean, you can turn your phone into a hotspot for your cellular connection and then have the Firewalla connect to your phone and then spread out the SSID as well for the Firewalla. Might be unnecessary, but for those that really want visibility and they really want VPN capabilities, it's still a good thing to look at. So for now, I'm going to attach us to the Tim Netgear, and this is where I will put in my password. All right, there we go. We have our ISP Ethernet cable plugged in, and we have our wireless connection to Tim Netgear as configuring. So as a travel router, of course, if you don't have an Ethernet connection, you're not going to have the Firewalla on the internet to be able to configure it. So you will have to go through a pretty painful Bluetooth process to get this Firewalla Purple to connect to a wireless connection wherever you may be. But in this case, if we look at the multi-WAN settings, we can choose what we want it to connect to by default. A lot of the times Ethernet is always better than Wi-Fi, so if you leave the Ethernet connection as primary and the wireless connection is secondary, well, the primary WAN is ISP1, and you can also do auto fallback, or you can always change the primary WAN from ISP1 to the wireless connection we created, and you can also tell it not to auto fallback. So if it falls back to wireless, if it falls to wireless, it will fall back to wired with this option enabled. If this option is not enabled and Ethernet fails, well, wireless will be the primary until it, reboots itself. On top of that, you have a lot of all the same things you have on the Firewalla Gold that I mentioned in that video. But I mean, it's really as simple as that. Let me plug my computer into the Firewalla network. It'll ask me for my security key, which can take a while in and of itself, I guess. Can't connect to this network. I wonder why not. Let me turn you off for a second just so I can verify the password. Ah, that's why. I didn't change the password. So let me change my password to something a little bit more manageable. Okay, reconnect. Good to go. Let's try to reconnect to Firewalla 2. Alright, so now I am connected to Firewalla 2. And I should be back on the internet. So let's see, what is my IP.com? Let me make sure I got this properly. So, yep, I am currently connected to, it looks like my ISP1. .186 is my wireless, my internet IP address. Anyway, the 186 is the IP address of my ISP1's internet connection, so we are good there. If I unplug my Firewalla from the network, it's going to do a failover, and it should fail over to WISP. As long as I don't lose my Wi-Fi connection at the same time. So let's see, 186, and now it changed to 89. So you're going to notice that the wireless WAN connection is now the primary. And eventually it'll update itself, but because we have the multi-WAN setting to auto fail back, I'm gonna wait until, okay. Now it shows as active. I'm gonna re-plug in ISP1. And hopefully that'll work. It is rather interesting though. I disconnected the wired interface and it failed over really quick. But when falling back, I mean, you saw it right now, I just lost connectivity. I mean, it did not do it gracefully. However, I did lose my Wi-Fi connection because of this failover. So, I mean, that might have been the actual problem. So keep that in mind. If you don't check the auto connect and you lose your connectivity, well, that's what may happen. And it says it cannot connect to the wireless network again. So, I mean, it's not always perfect. Sometimes it takes a while. I mean, even though I have the network connected, it's physically connected. It's in there. The lights are on, and the Firewalla app doesn't update. It says the box is unreachable. And then now it comes up as it's configuring both. So I don't know why, but I unplugged the Ethernet cable. It failed over to WISP. I plugged back in the network cable, and then it's almost like the Firewalla rebooted itself. And it's in configuring mode. So once again, have patience with these things. They, you know, they're not the best, but like I said before, when you get them going, they do pretty well. And as you see here, I'm back on the 186, so I know I'm on my Ethernet connection. Now keep in mind, let's look at our wireless connections. You're going to see here that the wireless connection is up and running and it's attached. If you come in here to edit, you can choose which wireless connection you want. So if you need to connect the Firewalla Purple to a wireless connection at a hotel, turn it on. Try to connect to the device via the Firewalla app, and you'll have to choose the Wi-Fi network from a Bluetooth connection. So keep in mind that can be really slow and painful as well. But like I said, once it's up and running, it goes pretty well. Like I said before, this has a lot of the same features as the Firewalla Gold. It's just not as fast and it has a lot less ports. But you can do all of your same things like network performance, monitoring, rules, devices, all this type of stuff. You know, the odd thing is there you go, I'm connected to Firewalla 2 and then the device shows up in the Firewalla. One of the questions I had to have asked a long time ago, in router mode, the only way for it to discover devices is if the default gateway of the computers, whatever, is the Firewalla. Because the Firewalla, I think, learns of all the devices you know, via that gateway. In the non-router mode, I believe it's all ARP requests, so it'll get and respond to ARP requests. Once again, that'll probably be in a subsequent video. So I know this was a real simple, not much going on kind of video. I just wanted to say that's it. You know, we have a LAN connection, a WAN connection, a wireless WAN, and a wireless LAN. I believe we have the ability to turn the ISP connection, the WAN port, into a LAN port. No, I guess not. It is WAN. So yep, I mean, that's kind of it. I'm also going to be doing a video now that I have the Firewalla Purple travel router. I'm going to do a short, well, I'm going to do a fairly long video of configuring the VPN client. So in the next video I come out with, we're going to create a site-to-site VPN and a remote access VPN between the Firewalla Purple and the Firewalla Gold to give you kind of a good understanding of, you know, how do we get VPNs to work using a Firewalla Purple. Yep, so that's just the intro on the Firewalla Purple. Hope you stay tuned for our video on VPNs. I'll see you in the next one.